and he was drinking a lot. He would chop out copious lines of cocaine. There were 3 days where Phil was stuck in his hotel room in his bed. He couldn't leave his bed. He was so sick. Obviously, this wasn't a flu or a head cold. This was something serious. I knew then, after that, I couldn't work with him anymore. It was too hurtful for me. I mean, I would just feel that I can't watch this guy kill himself. He was killing himself.
I've got to give it up. I've got to give it up.
There were drug dealers all over the place. Tony Visconti subsequently told me that if you listen to the Black Rose album, you'll hear that Phil's voice is very, like he has a head cold because he was taking so much coke at the time.
I've got to give it up.
Paris was probably the wrong city for Thin Lizzy to go and hang out in. I mean, we literally used to get the drug dealers pounding on the door trying to get in, and we let them in. Before then, it was all kind of recreational. Now, all of a sudden, it starts to get serious. You know, the smack starts to come in, and whoa, yeah, we haven't tried this yet. Oh, let's try a little bit of this.
Halfway through a US tour to promote the album, Gary Moore packed his bags and left Thin Lizzy for the third and final time. The right-hand side of the stage needed filling once more. And this time, Lizzy chose a guitarist no one could have anticipated. Midge Ure had left Visage and was just about to join Ultravox when Phil the Rocker came calling.
I was in the studio and I got a phone call from Philip saying, you know, I'm in Arkansas on the middle of a tour, you know, with Lizzy, and we're opening up for Journey, and you know, we're special guests, and it's huge stadiums and whatever. And Gary Moore's not in the band anymore. Can you come out and finish the tour? Now, why he asked me to come out and do it, I'll never know, because I'm not a twiddly diddly whiz kid guitarist like Lizzy has. You know, I'm fairly standard. In fact, I could probably, I think I hailed myself as the worst guitarist Lizzy ever had. But he invited me out because I think he saw there was an association with, maybe I was cool, or the band I was in was cool, or the music that I was playing was cool. And Phil wanted to integrate this into Lizzy. His management company sent over a bunch of cassettes and said, learn these and we'll fly out tomorrow. And I thought, well, I'd never been to America, I'd never been anywhere. And I thought, great. So I got home from the studio that night, packing my bags. I thought, well, I've got the set list and I've got the cassettes, and I'll take my big ghetto blaster, because it was before Walkmans, and I'll learn the songs on the plane. And of course they sent me out in Concorde, and halfway through the second song, learning it on the plane, we kind of landed. So I turned up completely unprepared. I hadn't learned any of the set. So the first night in New Orleans, when I finally got there, I spent the evening with Scott in a hotel room, the two of us with two guitars, desperately trying to learn all these harmony parts. And the next night I was on stage for, you know, 45 minutes.
I am just a cowboy, lonesome on the trail.
The most complicated part was every song had a harmony guitar part in it. And trying to remember which harmony guitar part went in which song it was almost like, you know, those jigsaws you get of the sea or the sky, and you can put any bits in any bit of the jigsaw. It was a bit like that. You could put any harmony guitar part in any Thin Lizzy song, and it kind of, in your head, sounded all right until you heard what Scott was playing. You realised you were playing the wrong one. It really was Spinal Tap. It was, you know, hotel suites and, you know, limos to and from the airport, and hanging about the airport for hours, and then getting on a flight that took 20 minutes to get to the next city, and then you'd get picked up by another limo and then back into another hotel. By the time it took you to do all of that, you could have driven between the cities. You know, I was kind of bored after a week. I think, you know, you've got to hang about an airport again, because it was perceived that's what a big band did. Oh, oh, crap. The worst guitarist Lizzy ever had.
When Midgure left at the end of the tour, Lizzy's revolving door never stopped turning. 3 guitarists came and went in 4 years. Ex-Pink Floyd player Snowy White and John Sykes from the Tigers of Pantang were just 2 to grace the Lizzy lineup, who by now were starting to sound more like a full-blown heavy metal band.
Every few months we might have a different guitar player playing on stage with you, but and that's what happened. But yeah, you know, it was a bit strange, okay? So many guitar players coming through the ranks. But yeah, we just, you know, that's the way it was. I mean, guys leave and other people join.
By the early 80s, Thin Lizzy was still releasing album after album and touring as hard as ever, all the while living life to the max, especially Phil and Scott, now in the grip of serious drug habits.
He knows this all too well.
The frightening thing about heroin is that it is very enjoyable to take. It cuts off reality. If you've got a lot of problems and you want to just, so it's very easy to, you know, I mean, it's so easy, it'd be so easy for me to just jump up on television and say, hey, this is the pits, don't do it. The thing that's never put across on television very well is how enjoyable it can be. Now, I never got to the stage where I became so addicted that my body craved, you know, like physically for it, but mentally, that battle will continue for the rest of my life.
Well, I think it did destroy the band. There's no doubt about it. You know, it destroyed the band completely. I mean, when heroin gets in, that affects your ability to play rather than anything else. I mean, I personally, physically, after I tried it, couldn't play. I learned after about 4 or 5 weeks of being on it that this was not for me. And I just stopped. I've never taken it since, you know.
He comes and goes.
By 1983, it was becoming increasingly clear that the rock and roll lifestyle they had pursued and that some band members had embraced had begun to catch up with them. By the end of that year, Scott finally got out and hasn't looked back since.
Golf kind of saved my life. You know, when you take drugs as heavily as we did and then you stop, there's a massive hole in your life, and you're always trying to fill that hole, right? And it's amazing how just trying to hit that stinking little white ball with this tiny little club, it's all-encompassing. That's all you want to concentrate on doing. I think kind of crunch time for me came, we were playing some massive festival, and I remember not wanting to go up on the stage. I was absolutely out of my box. And, you know, I started to think about that. My whole life, you work yourself into these positions to get into this position where you've always wanted to be in, and now you don't want to do it because you're not stoned enough, you know? And I thought, this just ain't right. I remember Phil turning over and looking at me, and he just had this horribly depressed look on his face. And, you know, he was sweating anyway, but it actually looked like, you know, tears were coming down because the pain was so bad. And I thought, oh man, you know, this is wrong, and we gotta fix this.
The solution was a farewell tour seen by over 100,000 fans. Then the journey that had started in Dublin 14 years before just came to an end.
At the last gig, we just literally at the airport just said, see you guys, you know, bye. Got on the plane and different planes, and that was it. Just went our separate ways, and, you know, that was it. And there's no talk of, you know, we'll see in 6 months and reconsider. There's nothing like that. So that was the end of that.
The pop singer Phil Lynott died in hospital in Salisbury this afternoon. The The 35-year-old Irish singer had been taken to hospital from a clinic specialising in drug and alcohol addiction. Doctors say he died of pneumonia and heart failure.
I think I'm gonna fall to pieces if I don't find something else to do. The sadness, it never ceases. Oh, I'm still in love with you.
I do know that, that band was his whole life. He invested a lot of his life into that band, as we all did. But for Phil, it was something way deeper. I mean, he just loved Thin Lizzy. I mean, just loved that band.
Is this the end? I'm still in love with you.
I just wish Philip was alive. I just wish he was alive, because they would have been kings, It's not just me imagining they were superb. They were. Look at the guitar players he used. They were the equivalent of an Irish Yardbirds or John Mayall Blues Break. It was like an academy of great musicians. I mean, you only play with great people if you're great.
Lizzy built a bridge from Ireland over to the UK and then on to the rest of the world. And that bridge has been used by many, many, many Irish bands. I think there's no doubt that U2 owe a huge debt of gratitude. They paved the way. When you go around Dublin, you don't see many statues of rock stars.
Is this the end?
For some reason, for some magical reason, their music is completely timeless. You see people in blogs saying favourite bands, and they'll list bands from this year, and then somewhere in there among them will be Thin Lizzy. They're totally timeless.
Still in love with you.
I think if the original lineup of Scott and Brian had stayed together and kept at it, I think they would eventually have become, one of the biggest bands in the world,
Did you see a day when the three of you would play again together?
No.
Well, we're trying. I'll go that far. We're trying right now. You'll see a Thin Lizzy tour, absolutely. I mean, we're trying to get as many original guys back up there as possible, and get it back to, the sound, the Thin Lizzy sound.
One last question. Harking back to the fact Lizzy had been in existence for 13 years, and all those albums, tracks and songs that you've recorded, would there be any one song or one album that, supposing 20 years' time, you could look back and say, yes, I created that?
To be a stack of them. Duke Ellington had a great answer to that question. He used to say, my favourite song is the next one. And hopefully that'll be my answer in 20 years' time,
Right. Thanks a lot, Phil.